Good morning, sir.
A very good morning to you, Toastmaster Elvis.
Kindly introduce yourself to us in 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Elvis, and good morning to the viewers of this video. My name is Winston P Ekpotu. I am a member of Toastmasters International. I joined Toastmasters in November 2013. I joined Unity Toastmasters, and I had the privilege of serving in that club as the Vice President membership, and I went on to serve as the 6th President of the club between 2015 to 2016. After that, I was area director, I was a club growth director, and I also served twice as division director, 2019 to 2018, I beg your pardon, to 2020.
I think you forgot to add that you're a distinguished Toastmaster.
Okay, yes, I also earned the Distinguished Toastmaster Award sometime in 2018, and I have finished the Strategic Relationships Path in the Pathways Education Program, so hopefully I will commence the other one in the nearest future.
Thank you so much, sir. First question, sir. How do we, as Toastmasters, take more seriousness or become more serious with the roles we play during club meetings? For instance, you're a timer. How should we look at timer's role? How should we look at our counter's role? How we need to put more seriousness in this. How do you suggest we do this to make our meetings more effective?
Thank you very much. I think this question is particularly pertinent at this point. Coincidentally, I was in a club meeting yesterday, and I also raised these concerns with the Vice President of Education of that club, as well as some of the members of the club. It will not be lost on us to also consider that what we are seeing now is also in a way directly related to the new Toastmasters Education Program. Those of us who completed the Legacy Education Program, or who took part in that, had what we call the Competent Leadership Manual. Now, this manual spelled out the essence and the importance of each of these roles we have mentioned. They are to build the leadership side of you. We've seen now that in the current education program, emphasis is laid more on speaking than playing meeting roles. Nevertheless, I think it's our responsibility as experienced Toastmasters and as club officers to explain the importance of these roles, especially those of us who played these roles when we were using the Legacy Education Program, when we were using the Competent Leadership Program and Leadership Manual, I beg your pardon. So I would say that we as the experienced members, as well as the club officers, we need to have a round table. We need to come together to reiterate the importance of these roles, and then reacquaint the new members of the importance of these roles and how they build their leadership capacity. Less focus, because now if we are focusing 100% on delivering speeches at club meetings, we should bring it down a bit and increase the focus on playing meeting roles, and then develop our own tailor-made manuals to explain how these roles should be played, so that the members themselves can understand, can prepare. If I'm an counter, what is expected of me? I shouldn't just go copying the mistakes. For example, you have a lot of people who talk about the counter role and say repetitive words, and they forget that some people have a natural or have a stuttering problem. So you would find someone who stutters doing I, and the counter comes, and because he heard someone say I is a pause filler, he says, oh, somebody had two I's. And those of us who have been in Toastmasters long enough know that I is not a pause filler. We know that so, if used appropriately, is not a pause filler. So there is a need for us, and maybe the Program Quality Directorate could work to see that we have something developed. And let's try to have some trainings on meeting rules, the importance of meeting rules. I remember distinguished Toastmaster Titi Ojo sometime in 2000 and, if I'm not mistaken, 2016, came up with a training on the competent leadership manual. It was a full day, but I guarantee you those who attended that training were better for it, and they effectively executed meeting rules and made meetings more coordinated, more professionally delivered, and also marketed Toastmasters in a very, very good light.
Thank you so much. The next question is, how does this affect the quality of our club members? For instance, you have a guest who will come to a meeting, and just like you mentioned, the counter report, for instance, and you're thinking to yourself, will I be able to do this without repeating some words or without using some pause fillers? I feel this is affecting the quality of our meetings and the kind of members we produce. But I want to hear your take on that, sir.
Most certainly, when you have meeting rules that are not effectively executed, the quality of the meeting will drop. What makes a great meeting? To some people, they come to listen to people speak. Now, with the current Pathways program, what I've seen is that most speeches are more often repeated. So someone is delivering a speech on different leadership types, and you go to 4 clubs, or sometimes even in the same meeting, 2 people delivering a speech on different leadership types, and it's like you're hearing the same speech twice. So I've also been in meetings back then when people make up their minds to join Toastmasters during the evaluation session of the meeting, because that is the meat, that is where people want to see how can I improve. So if the people who are giving feedback to help other people improve are not equipped to give that feedback, most definitely people will just see Toastmasters as another gathering where people just want to come and hear themselves speak. The feedback is what makes a Toastmasters meeting different from a Rotary, from a Lion, from a church fellowship. Because even in churches, the pastor just preaches, you hear the word, you leave. I reckon it may be something similar in the mosque. But in a Toastmasters meeting, you get feedback. It is that feedback that endears people to your Toastmasters club. So feedback is very important. Role players, they are the backbone of a quality club meeting.
So for those that will be watching you or that are watching you right now, sir, why should they be committed to these things as simple as being a timer for a meeting?
Wow. I'd say leadership is not just about speaking. It's not just about acting. It permeates every comment. And being time conscious, your ability to give feedback, these are very important qualities of a good leader. So if you joined Toastmasters to improve your capacity to influence people, your capacity to inspire people, your capacity to make an impact, then you need to take every aspect of a Toastmasters meeting seriously. Now, some of us who have been fortunate to have earned the Distinguished Toastmaster Award did not get to that point without playing roles actively in our club meetings, actively in leadership meetings. And if you see any one of us as a source of your inspiration, then you must understand that we got there by doing these things diligently. We got there by paying attention to these things. So you must pay attention to them. You must make it a point of duty. Accept that responsibility. I have to be the accountant. What is expected? How can I be the best accountant? We've had people who were traditional grammarians, not because they spoke the best of English, but because you could see that whenever they had to play that role, they would research. And each time they came up, they would do something new. So it showed that they were committed. And these are the qualities of leaders. It's not just about talking, about achieving results, your commitment, your interest in developing yourself, your interest in trying to learn something new. So I want to encourage you, sir, ma'am, if you joined Toastmasters to genuinely improve yourself, please take every role seriously. Every meeting role. No role is too small. No role is negligible. Even the role of the sergeant at arms at a meeting is important. Let me delight you. In 2016, I beg your pardon, myself, distinguished Toastmaster Soyi Alana, and late Toastmaster Comfort Osondo, we were at the district conference in Grand Bassam, that's in Ivory Coast, and they had their district leadership meeting. We were not supposed to be part of that meeting, but our desire to learn, to be part of what was happening, pushed us, and 3 of us volunteered to share papers, to share the minutes of the meeting, to sit there. We were the helping hands when the district leaders were deciding the fate of all clubs in District 94. Suffice to say that the next year, myself and distinguished Professor Sonia Alani were part of that committee. What spurred us to do that? It was the volunteer service, playing the most minute role of helping them to distribute the minutes, helping them to count the votes. It got us involved, and the next time we were bona fide members of that committee, and I was privileged to have been on that committee 3 times, 3 years in a row at the district leadership, and I've served at various capacities there. We would not have been distinguished Toastmasters if we had not served, and we most likely would not have had the opportunity to serve if we did not volunteer to count ballots, to distribute minutes, and to help them with the microphones, taking the microphone from one speaker to the other. So please, no role is too small.
Thank you so much. Now, we've talked a lot about meeting rules. Let's come to club officer rules. I think the reason why we see what we see in some of our meetings could be as a result of the kind of officers we have in our clubs. How can we take our roles as club officers more seriously so as to deliver quality and value to our members? Because I know Toastmasters is a volunteer organization, you don't get paid for anything. But is there something that should make us to become more committed to whatever role we're playing in our clubs? Be it sergeant at arms, secretary, treasurer, whatever the role is. Is there a way, or is there something we need to know to make us to be more committed to these roles?
Thank you very much. I once heard Toastmaster Payoni Abe, he was the past president of Unity Toastmasters, at one of our officers' training. He made a statement that was very profound. There are 2 ways you can serve. Volunteer to serve when you have something to offer. Decline to serve when you have nothing to offer. Those words stuck with me. When you offer yourself to serve because you have constantly affirmed the Toastmasters promise that says, I will serve my club as an officer when called upon to do so, it's important that you realize that the world is watching. And how you do one thing is almost certainly how you will do everything. If you have volunteered to be the sergeant at arms, be the best sergeant at arms you can be. I can't really give you a formula, to be honest with you, because the truth is, we all will make out time for what we consider important. The most common excuse people give for their inability to fulfill their obligations is, I don't have time, I'm too busy. Hello, whatever is important to you, you make the time to be there. Because every one of us has just the same amount of time in a day, in a week, in a month. And we are all very busy. So realize that when you have taken up a responsibility to serve, people are depending on you. If you have to step back, if you are absent, you're putting more pressure on some other person, and it's unfair. We talk about commitment a lot. Many of us are quick to criticize the leaders in our communities. But how well have you been committed? And one thing another person said, I think it was distinguished Toastmaster Sonia Alana, if you can't be a good follower, you can't be a good leader. So maybe we also need to be mindful of how we elect the leaders. Someone who has joined Toastmasters and in a full year has only delivered 2 speeches doesn't know why he or she is in Toastmasters. So if you make that person a leader, you would almost certainly be dragging that person. I remember when I was president of Unity Toastmasters, my sergeant at arms then was Toastmaster Grace. She came to me and said, I want to be the sergeant at arms of this club because I feel this club could be better arranged. The venue could be well put together before the meeting starts. I have never met a sergeant at arms as dedicated as Toastmaster Grace in my almost 10 years in Toastmasters. She was so sedulous, she was so committed that we had to plead with her, say, look, you cannot just go. You need to take on another leadership role. And had she not stood her ground, she would most likely have continued to serve and serve and serve and serve. But life happened and she had to move on to something else. But what am I saying? From such a character, you draw inspiration. She was someone that we depended on so much. She was someone who was extremely, extremely supportive to any team she found herself. So I ask you, you've been an officer for so long. Can someone call you out this way? Can someone speak of you this way? If the answer is no, then you need to search yourself and ask yourself, what am I doing? And how can I be better? Because if you cannot serve and fulfill the responsibilities that you have accepted within Toastmasters, I will be surprised if you will do anything differently if given a larger opportunity in business, in politics, in governance, or in any other sphere of your interest.
The next question will be about club succession plan. I know in Toastmasters we'll have a document that helps us to crystallize what we want as club officers and how we intend others to succeed us. But in reality, sir, I've noticed that a lot of times you see a vibrant club this year. Then the previous year, what you see will be like a shadow of what you saw last year. What can we do in terms of leadership succession to maintain almost the same quality of the meetings we have the previous year? I know it's definitely going to be impossible to think of 100% because you have different people, but I feel that we could control a larger portion of that result the next year. So what do you think we can do to help in this regard as club officers and intending club officers?
When I think of what you just said, I think what comes to mind is, again, back to what I said before, why you joined. If you see Toastmasters as a launching pad for you to try yourself as a leader, you will take your role and you'll be committed. Now, one aspect of the succession plan which sometimes we don't pay attention to is the fact that the immediate past president of the club is an officer in the succeeding dispensation. And the reason Toastmasters put that in place is to ensure continuity. So when you see a club that becomes a shadow of itself in the next year, that's a club that honestly had an absent IPP. And this also happens because the concept of leadership, the concept of success, and the concept of succession is still misunderstood by some of these officers. You are not successful until your successor has succeeded. I'll say that again. You are not successful until your successor has succeeded. When I left as division director, my prayer was, let distinguished Toastmaster Ome surpass where I stopped. Let her be more successful than I had ever been. And until she did that, I did not consider myself to be a successful leader. As club president and as an immediate past club president, it was the same thing. When you see things not going well, as the IPP, as the IPAD, as the IPDD, you are to call the officers together. Something is amiss. What can we do to make things better? When the club presidents understand that getting 10 over 10 in their year is not a yardstick to measure their own success, but that when you get 10 over 10 this year, your successor should get 10 over 10 and possibly charter a new club with active members, then you will see that things will change. So we need to emphasize that. And maybe have awards for immediate past presidents who have been able to lead or who have been able to support, not lead now because the new president is leading, you are supporting, to support the new leadership to achieve greater success. Maybe we will see people try to maintain that stability.
I listened to one of your charge that you gave to new elected officers. I think it was at Grand City at the time. Then one of the things that caught my attention was when you said Toastmasters International actually make you a better human being. That has been in my heart and it kept ringing every time I go for any meeting. Question I ask myself is, am I becoming better in the process? That's been the guiding force with which I do every other thing I do within Toastmasters and outside Toastmasters. So sir, in summary, what would you say to that person watching you now that's not taking this Toastmasters opportunity very seriously? Because I believe in time and season. You are a Toastmasters now, you have the kind of time you have now, you can't guarantee having the same in how many years to come. So what would you say to that person now that is not taking advantage of the numerous opportunity that exists within Toastmasters?
You are missing a lot. That's what I'm saying. And maybe I should use myself as an example. You see, at some point in my life and in the lives of many people, even in Toastmasters, friends I've made, you will find that things may not be going as you expected outside the Toastmasters circle. But one beautiful thing about life and self-confidence is that it is built with every level of success you attain. Your self-confidence improves with every level of success that you attain. And so at some point in my Toastmasters journey, Toastmasters was a lifesaver. Because when business was not going as I expected, in Toastmasters I had a couple of wins that improved my self-confidence. It may not be the same for you. But the point is this: when you take very seriously the role, especially if you want to build yourself as a leader, and you are in an environment where nobody is going to criticize you, no one is going to judge you, no one is going to blame you, no one is going to insult you, no one is going to fire you, you would give your best, put in the effort, make the mistakes, get the feedback, grow. And by doing so, you become a better human being outside of Toastmasters. So, when you take very seriously, I'll say that again, I've been hammering on this seriously, your Toastmasters journey, you will find that the lessons from there will permeate every other sphere of your life. When you're better at communicating and giving feedback, even at home, you would be someone like him. There will be less quarrel and friction with your spouse. Your children will not be afraid to come to you, knowing that you will not blast them, but you will first commend them for something good they have done. You would recommend to them what they could do better, and you would end with a commendation. Your wife would see you as a better listener. You are more in tune. Your pastor would even recognize that you come to church earlier now because you are now more conscious of time. And there are just so many things. A past international president of Toastmasters said, and I think I should end with that: when you get all there is to get out of Toastmasters, you will never get out of Toastmasters. That's what makes you a better human being. I've not been as active as I used to be in the last year,
Busted.
I've not been as active in the last year as I used to be, maybe 2-3 years ago, but I have not left Toastmasters. The skills I gained, I still use them till today. And once in a while, I still come around to offer support because I know that I can never get out of Toastmasters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this. Guys, watch out for the second episode of this conversation. Thank you.